G'day guys and welcome back to another One Piece deck profile. I know it's been a bit delayed in us getting to look at all the other leaders from OPO 6, but here we are looking at our version of Yamato. So this is an aggro version of Yamato. There is a Fortress version which we can definitely profile for you guys as well. I know some people have requested it previously, so keep your eyeballs peeled. We'll try and get it out in amongst all the craziness of moving and all that other stuff that we've got going on right now. But let's take a look at Yamato, for those that don't know Yamato's effect. So Yamato is a double attack green and yellow leader, starts you with 5,000 power and 4 life. And the effect there, outside the double attack, you activate main once per turn. If your opponent has 3 or less life cards, you can give 2 rested on to one of your characters. So yeah, helps you also lead into some nice aggression with that effect there. And typically with Yamato, you don't really mind going first or second. It does depend on the matchup, but typically you want to try and get your opponent down to that 3 life threshold as quick as possible. So sometimes going second is just a bit nicer, so you can pop forward on the first turn that you can attack and swing in, so that you can get your opponent down to that 3 life, which activates a few more of your triggers, lets you use your leader's ability to help clear up board or just swing face all the time, which is probably the more fun way to play this deck, is just swing and face. Has seen some tops in some bigger tournaments, but not very consistent. Is just a real fun deck, which is why I like to play it. Alright, with being a yellow deck, we like to run some nasty triggers, so let's take a look at some of those to begin with. First of all, we're running a full play set of Kikunojo. So this card is a very good reason why we want to try and get our opponent down to 3 life as quick as possible, because the trigger, we can play Kikunojo out if our opponent has 3 or less life, which is really nice. The other part of the effect is the on KO. If your opponent has 3 or less life cards as well, you get to recover 1 life, which is really nice. The next card we are running, 2 copies of Cracker. So Cracker is good into decks that have a bit more life and like to kind of defend their life a bit earlier and swing in at us. Cracker can help turn the game around quite quickly. 4 cost character, 5,000 power, 1,000 counter. Don times 1 if you have less life than your opponent. This character gains double attack and 1,000 power. And the trigger is you can play this card out by trashing a card. Next up, we are running 2 copies of Sanji. 2 of the 4 blockers that we're running here in the deck. Same stats as your Cracker, and it has the same trigger effect as the Cracker as well. The last of kind of like the tech kind of trigger cards that we're running in the deck is we're running a full play set of Onami. Onami's good in all aspects. So cost 2, 3,000 body, 1,000 counter. On play, you can give a character or leader banish for the turn, which is wild. So really good with the Yamato. You can be swinging big numbers double attack for banish, which is insane. And then the trigger is you can KO one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 5 or less. Alright, moving on to the tech cards that are not trigger related. We're running a full play set of Ohm. So Ohm costs you 5,000 body, 1,000 counter. If you have 2 or less life, it gains 1,000 power all the time, so your turn and your opponent's turn, which is nice. And then the on play, you can look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal 1 holy, add it to your hand, then you can play a holy from your hand. Speaking of Holy, we're running a full playset of Holy because why not? Because we run the Ohm, we need to. Just a great card to be able to play out. So we get 2 cards off 1 card, and there is another card which we'll show you in a second, which can turn 1 card into 3 cards, which is absolutely insane value. The last of like the on play kind of impact stuff that we are running here in terms of some tech stuff is your starter deck Linen, 2 copies. Cost you 7, 8,000 body, no counter. On play, your opponent either chooses to trash one of their own life or give you an extra life. Now, I've play tested a few different cards in this slot, but Linlin just seems to be the better one just because of that immediate impact. Because sometimes that's what you need to be able to swing the game into your favor a bit more. Just apply a bit more pressure on your opponent, or just let them be able to slow the game down a bit more so you can find your pieces to be a bit more aggro. But yeah, definitely recommend running 2 copies of Linlin in the deck. Now, moving on to our 2k counters, we're running a lot. We're running full play set of Izo, cost you 3, 2,000 body. On play, you can rest something with a cost of 4 or less, so it just helps you with that extra aggression. Sometimes they've got a blocker out there that you need to rest to be able to swing for game or to clear some characters, usually when you're swinging for game or wanting to apply some extra pressure. Next up, we're running a full play set of Satori. This one costs you 5,000 body. Main reason we're running Satori in here is because of the trigger. It's a big body that you can play out of trigger. We want to apply a lot of aggression, a lot of board presence as quick as possible. So these triggers that allow us to play characters out when your opponent swings, just punishing them for swinging, is really good for us in this playstyle, in this deck. Next up, we're running a full play set of Mihawk from starter deck 12. Now, Mihawks on play, if you have 2 or less characters, you can play 1 Monkey Kingdom or slash attribute character with a cost of 4 or less from your hand other than Mihawk rested. So that effect is, you can only trigger that effect if Mihawk's the second character on the field. So basically you can have 0 or 1 characters already before you play the Mihawk to be able to get this effect off. But cards that you can play with the Mihawk are Ohm, which then allows you to play a Holy, 3 cards for 1 card. Insane value. You can also play out the Cracker if you're behind. And you can also play out the Kikunojo as well to have an extra body that's usually pretty sticky because your opponent does want to stay away from it because of the recovery effect. And the last of our 2k counters that we're running, so we're running 16 in the deck, but the last that we're running here is the Hayori. Costs you 2. On play, you can add the top or bottom card of your life to your hand, and then you can place 1 card from your hand at the top of your life. So this one can really help set up your triggers, can help you set up your Satori, your Sanjis, your Crackers, your Kikunojos. Or if you're really desperate, can help you put some other cards up in your life, which we'll talk about in just a moment. And something that ties in quite nicely with the Hiyori, we're running 2 copies of Momo from APO6. This helps you recycle your Hiyori, also helps you recycle your Kikunojos. Momo is also a blocker, which is also quite nice to have. So this is the other 2 blockers that we are running in the deck. Now moving on to the finishes of our deck, we were firstly running a full playset of old Hody Jones. Cost you 7, 8,000 body, has a rush. On play, you can rest 2 of your opponent's characters and or Don. Then you have to add your top life card to your hand. So that first part of the effect can still happen even if you have 0 life. But otherwise, yeah, some really good aggression you can get out of Hody. Can be used to just try and clear some board as well, resting some blockers or resting some bigger characters that were played out, and you stack some Dons, swing in. The other big kind of finisher that we're running 2 copies of the Secret Rare Zoro from OPO6. This one costs you 9,000 body. When attacking, once per turn, rest a Don to set him active, and then activate main once per turn, rest 2 Don to set him active again. 3 swings at minimum 9k is absolute madness. If that sticks, you're pretty much winning. There's some matchups which you'll never play this card because it's going to be too slow. But in those slower games, this card is, it's just a really big game changer, a really big winner for you. The event finishes that we're running 2 copies of Amaru. Cost you 2. Activate main. You can buff something by 3,000 power. Then if you have 1 or less life, you can rest a character with a cost of 4 or less. So it is really good late game. If they have a blocker, you don't see your Hody, you don't see your Ezo that allows you to rest some things. You can rest some things here and gain a nice buff, which is really good. And then you can use the 2 rested Don that you triggered for this effect to attach to a character as well from your leader's ability, which is quite nice. The trigger is you can trash 2 cards from your hand to recover a life. And the last finisher that we're running 2 copies. Let's get me up the top here. 2 copies of Reject. Cost you 4. Activate main. You choose one of the following. You can either KO a character with a cost of 5 or less, or if your opponent has 1 life, you can deal 1 damage to them, add the top card of your life to your hand. So, really good options here. Nice aggro options going on here. And that is the deck. Alright, there is the deck in all its glory. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you do differently. There might be some cards that you can update from the starter deck 13, like Ace is as a good option there as well. Maybe the Rush Yamato 2k counter is another great option in there as well. But this is what we've been running. This is what we've been happy with. Yep, let us know what you think. Once again, stay beautiful, and we'll see you all in the next one.